What is going on, you guys? Welcome to my first ever full card breakdown for UFC Vegas 109. I am super excited to get this out to you guys. It's been a long time in the works. I always have people asking me my opinions on different fighters. This will be a great spot to see that. Also, it's going to be a much more in-depth look at how I'm feeling and why I'm betting on my parlay lock of the week fighters. It's hard a lot of times to fit everything I'm thinking and want to say in just a minute and a half long video on Instagram or TikTok or on these YouTube shorts. And without further ado, let's get into it. First up, let's do a recap. Now, if you're new to this channel, it's your first time seeing me, I do a parlay lock of the week. I've been doing it since I think December now, 22 weeks. My total record is 15-7, and I created this to essentially be a sports betting index fund. So just like an index fund, you place the same amount of money every week, an amount that you can afford, and long term, you'll guarantee to be profitable. So 99% of the time, this parlay lock of the week is the only thing I'm putting my money on. Every once in a while, if I feel very confident in a fighter and his odds are good enough to straight bet, I'll do that. Or I'll have a parlay with a couple of underdogs who I think are going to win. And because the odds are so high, I can throw a little bit of money on it, and it almost acts like a hedge to your parlay lock of the week, or just there for you to make extra money. But last week, I had Ribovic and Vallejos minus 139. Great fights. I needed that parlay to hit. My last five, I'm 3-2. Holland shit the bed for us. And then, of course, Oban Elliott destroyed that beautiful parlay, plus 180. Of course, the biggest favorite on the cards. Got to lose. Just how it is sometimes. I didn't do a parlay for the Saudi card because I was on vacation in Yosemite with no cell service. So I didn't even actually watch those fights. And yeah, so let's get into these fights. First fight of the night, we got Gabriela Hernandez versus Julia Stoliarenko. These odds seem a little bit crazy, minus 500 almost. She's only got 2 wins in the UFC, one of them being a split decision to Carla Judas, the other one being a come from behind win against Kong Wing. I'm going to go with Gabriela Hernandez, obviously. She is a far better striker. Julia Stoliarenko confuses me so much because she looks the part of a fighter so much. Like, she's from Lithuania. She's a Lethwei champion, which is that crazy sport where they allow headbutts and there's no gloves. Every time Bruce Buffer announces her name, you look in her eyes and it just looks like her soul has seen hundreds of years of war and terror in the Soviet Union. And then she goes out there and she's just this one-trick pony who only has an armbar, to the point where she's getting takedowns where she's pulling herself into guard, putting herself on the back because that is better than being on the feet, and she can't get a good enough takedown to just be in dominant position. So quite literally, armbar or bust, because when she gets those takedowns where she's pulling guard, she's then on her back, so she doesn't get the armbar. She's in a non-dominant position, getting hit with ground and pound. Gabriela Hernandez should win this fight pretty easily. I think she gets a first round KO. Her gas tank really does worry me. She's got horrific cardio. I don't even know if it's cardio management. Like, she's built like a female Yoel Romero. I don't think when you're that yoked, it's even possible for cardio management to be a thing. I think if she can keep this on the feet, she should be able to knock her out pretty quickly with how powerful she hits. Stoliarenko is coming off an 18-month layoff, and the reason for that is because she got surgery, had to recover from that, and then opened up her own jiu-jitsu academy in Lithuania. Whenever a fighter starts doing that, kind of seems like they're at the tail end of their career, preparing for what's next. I just think Gabriela Hernandez should be able to take her out pretty easily. If you're gonna bet on this fight, minus 500 for somebody with not that great of wins, just come from behind wins, and that bad of a cardio, I actually think playing Fernandez by first round KO isn't that bad of a play. I hate prop bets. I'm not somebody that's ever going to recommend a prop bet, but between her cardio, between how easily Stoliarenko can get finished, I don't think it's going to take very long if Fernandez gets a knockout. So I'm going to go Fernandez first round KO. And then we got Uros Medic versus Gilbert Urbina. Another fight, the odds seem kind of crazy. Minus 4-1 favor for Uros Medic. This fight seems like one of those ones that should be 1 + 1 = 2. Gilbert Urbina's grappler with not good striking defense. Uros Medic is a good striker, pretty heavy hands. Something about him I just don't like. First off, Gilbert Urbina's last loss against Charles Radke. I think Charles Radke would beat Uros Medic pretty easily, to be honest. Gilbert Urbina is also tough, and Uros Medic is a slow starter. You saw in that Semmelsberger fight he really started off slow, and Semmelsberger is having a lot of success. I even think took the first round of that fight, and then Uros Medic just in the third round came out guns blazing, got the finish. So I'm going to go Uros Medic, either late TKO or probably a closer decision than most people think. Next fight, we got Jocelyn Edwards, Priscilla Cachoeira. I really like Jocelyn Edwards in this spot. Minus 325, I honestly think the odds could be a lot wider. Priscilla Cachoeira supposedly was a drug addict and then got her life together and was only training 18 months, a year and a half, before not just getting a professional fight, before being in the UFC. And then the UFC threw her to the wolves and gave her Valentina Shevchenko in her debut. She's taking this fight on short notice too. Not good when you have a horrible gas tank to begin with. Jocelyn Edwards was training for Mayra Bueno Silva, so not only did she have a full fight camp, but she was training for what was going to be her hardest opponent yet. Probably super focused in camp, training super hard. She's coming out of Extreme Couture, which is, I think, one of the best gyms. Definitely got Eric Nixick, who's probably the best coach in the UFC. 29 years old, coming to her prime, fast, clean striking. She's been using her offensive takedowns a lot more, which I like, especially in this fight, because Priscilla Cachoeira has no defense. And most fighters, you're like, oh, they don't have takedown defense, or they don't have striking defense. She just doesn't have defense, period. No striking defense, hands by her hip, nowhere to be found. Not a bit of takedown defense. On the ground, cannot do anything. No hip escapes, no shrimping out, no attempts at getting up. Just giving up submissions on the ground. Takes so much damage in her fights. I just think Jocelyn Edwards is going to be better everywhere. I think she's going to control where this fight goes. She'll probably just end up going for takedowns because of how easy it's going to be given to her. Probably getting a late sub, late TKO. Wouldn't be surprised if it's just a dominant decision though. But give me Jocelyn Edwards. Really like her in this fight, especially at these odds. We got Elijah Smith versus Toshiyama Kazama. Minus 700 is crazy. Kind of justified just because of how Toshiyama fights. He's so reckless with how he comes forward. Elijah Smith should be able to get an easy knockout in here. Minus 700 for a guy who in his last fight landed 40 significant strikes. Do you know how low output you have to be to get 3 takedowns and only land 40 significant strikes? I'm not that high on Elijah Smith. In this fight, I get it. I think Elijah Smith wins by KO. Way too wide though, gonna stay away from it. And then this one is ridiculous. Julius Walker, Rafael Cerqueiro, minus 700 for Julius Walker. One fight in the UFC and it's a loss to Alonzo Menafield. I don't know why people are talking like Alonzo Menafield is good. He is not good. And this guy is minus 700 against a guy whose losses come from knockouts. Julius Walker is a wrestler. How do these odds even make sense? They have a combined 3 fights in the UFC. If you're betting on this fight, just God bless you, honestly. You might want to check yourself into a rehab while you do it, but this is crazy. This guy has 7 fights in the UFC, and he's a 7-1 favorite. Everyone thought Bo Nickel was going to take over the world, and then he got smoked. I don't get it. I really don't. And then now to the main card, we got Eric Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan. At least these odds are a little bit justifiable. Way younger, faster, better striking. Something about him though, I don't know what it is. I don't trust this guy. I think he's very good at being the hammer. I don't think he's good at being the nail. I think when he's moving forward, when he doesn't have a takedown threat coming his way, and he's able to style on guys with the flashy striking, but he just gives me this vibe that he wouldn't be good fighting backwards, fighting on the back foot, going through some adversity. I get it, his loss to his Gregory Rodriguez. The gap in skill between his wins and his loss to Gregory Rodriguez is massive. Just because Gregory Rodriguez is very high level and is a very understandable loss, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't lose to guys a lot lower. Maybe he changes his game around, maybe I'm completely wrong. And stylistically, Eric Anders would be a bad matchup for him in his prime. Shorter, always coming forward, just in your nose, making him fight out the back foot, big power. I just think at 38 years old, his career's got to be coming to an end soon. I'm going to go with Christian Leroy Duncan. I just think he's a fraud check waiting to happen. And Gregory Rodriguez fight, that's not a fraud check. That's a very good fighter and a very respectable loss. But I think he's a fraud check waiting to happen. I just don't think it's in this fight. And then we got Miles Johns versus Gene Matsumoto. Hard fight to pick, to be honest. Matsumoto, much younger, but no head movement. Eats everything coming his way. Classic Muay Thai fighter. And his last loss against Rob Font, I think it being a split decision and it being close is gonna be the worst thing for him in this matchup. Because I think his viewpoint going into this fight is, oh, I got robbed in that decision. I should have won that fight. I don't need to change anything. I'm just gonna keep being myself. Whereas Miles Johns has that veteran experience. He's had those real losses before. He's come back from them, changed how he fights. I think Gene Matsumoto is in for a rude awakening with this fight. I think Miles Johns is much more experienced. I think he hits harder, and Matsumoto's lack of head movement is going to be a problem, especially with Miles Johns having a wrestling background, because if Matsumoto can't get those takedowns, he's going to seem like a sitting duck on the feet, because even though he's faster, he's not going to be hitting harder, and he's going to be eating everything coming his way. So I'm going to go with Miles Johns. Not super confident in it. I think this fight could go either way, but -3-1 favorite for Gene Matsumoto is pretty crazy. And then we got Andre Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. And then we got Andre Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez, the most random fighter in the UFC. I need you guys to comment and tell me if I'm crazy, tell me if it's just me, or if you guys agree with me, because I swear he's just not a real person. Like, Christian Rodriguez doesn't even sound like a real name. Even just how he looks like he was like auto-generated in GTA 5 or in Sims. And then he just has these weird, super close fights, but then like loses to like lower level vets. I can't get a read on this guy. I swear it's gonna be like the Mandela effect, where like 30 years from now, we're gonna be like, remember that time where Christian Rodriguez did this? And then it's gonna be like, there was never somebody in the UFC named Christian Rodriguez. I don't know. I feel like I could meet Christian Rodriguez in person, shake his hand, I still wouldn't really believe he's a real person. Andre Fili is another guy it's hard to break down. This fight in general is such a random matchup. Why are these two fighting? Great striking, really bad striking defense, fights like he has a good chin, but doesn't have a good chin. Gonna be the much faster guy, gonna be the much better striker, much rangier, has shown good takedown defense in the past, so I'm gonna lean Andre Fili. I think he can keep this fight on the feet. I think he struggles most against power punchers, and I don't think Christian Rodriguez is that. I think Christian Rodriguez kind of depends on the grappling. If Andre Fili can keep it on the feet, avoid getting knocked out, I think he could squeak this fight out. And then we got Eisman Lucindo versus Angela Hill. I'm gonna go with Lucindo. She hits way harder than Angela Hill. Angela Hill has been to like 5 split decisions in the UFC and is pretty much always the better striker in those fights. And I think that speaks volume to her power, or to her lack of power, I should say. Because if you're landing that much better, that much easier on your opponent, and the judges are still storing it in the opposite direction, I think that means that you have no power. Against Lucindo, who's gonna be a heavy hitter to begin with, hitting Angela Hill with those shots, even if she doesn't hit with as much volume, I think it's gonna be much more impactful. Angela Hill's 40 years old. The career's gotta be coming to an end soon. I just don't think this is a great matchup for her. So I'm gonna go Lucindo, a 29-28 split decision, because that's what Angela Hill does. And then co-main event, Steve Erceg versus Ode Osbourne. Steve Erceg coming in at -575, +425 for Ode Osbourne. I like Steve in this fight. If this was a 5-round fight, I think Steve would be at lock. 3 rounds scares me a little bit more, especially because Erceg's last 3 fights have been 5 rounds. Ode Osbourne has one of the craziest reaches I've ever seen. He's a flyweight, and not a huge flyweight to begin with, and he has a 73-inch reach. Tatsuro Taira, who has a massive reach, Taira has a 70-inch reach. Ode Osbourne has 3 inches on Taira. Just crazy. I think Steve Erceg wins this fight. He's fought the much higher level of competition, especially recently. A couple things worry me. I think maybe it's just PTSD from the Kai Kara France fight. Ode Osbourne's got power, and Steve Erceg leaves his chin in the air. He recovers well, but we saw in the Kai Kara France, you can't always depend on that. Another thing with why I think it would be a lock at 5 rounds, Steve Erceg is so good at adjusting to fighters. You saw in the Brandon Moreno fight. I had Brandon Moreno in my lock of the week that week. And the first round drops him, gets dominated. He survives. I'm thinking the rest of the fight's gonna be this. Then Erceg comes out in the second round and he's made improvements, he's made adjustments. And Moreno still landed on him, landed pretty clean, but definitely not dropping him like he was in the first round. But then in the third round, Erceg comes out and he looks completely different. Moving different, changing angles, landing on Moreno, and Moreno's like, oh shit, I gotta reel this in. I think Erceg is so good at adjusting to fighters, and I think the longer a fight goes, the more it plays out in his favor. 3 rounds just scares me, because all it takes is Ode Osbourne to drop him once, he gets that round, and then Ursac's got to get the next 2 rounds. And if he gets dropped in the first, even if he recovers, what if he's hesitant? What if he can't deal with the speed and that reach combination that Ode Osbourne has? I'm going to go with Steve Ursag. I think he's the much better fighter, definitely much more experienced. Minus 575s, pretty wide, but he should be able to get this done, especially with Ode taking this on short notice. And then for the main event, Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Hernandez. Honestly, I think it's going to be a beatdown from Anthony Hernandez. I don't think this is very close. The way I feel about this fight is very similar to how I feel about Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier, or Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. I don't understand how people are picking the opposite side. I don't understand how someone was picking Poirier. I don't get how someone was picking Kai Kara France. I don't get how someone is picking Roman Dolidze. This guy has had so many fights in the UFC, has trained at Extreme Couture with Eric Nixick for so long, and has some of the worst fight IQ and technique I have ever seen. It is crazy to be this experienced and to still be making decisions and have technique that is this bad. Slow as shit on the feet, super heavy looping overhands and hooks. Anthony Hernandez is going to be massive speed advantage, big advantage on the feet other than just raw power. Not only does Dolidze have terrible fight IQ just because he doesn't grapple, like he doesn't offensively grapple, even though he's most dangerous there and he's pretty much always outmatched on the feet. The way this guy throws punches, there's multiple moments in multiple fights where he'll throw 5 or 6 right hands back to back. And you might think, oh, that's not that crazy. No. Left hand, nowhere to be found. The right hand swinging back and forth, not bringing it back to his chin, not setting up a different shot, just swatting in the air like he's trying to swat a fly. I've never seen anything like it. I don't think he has much of a chance to win this fight. Anthony Hernandez is, you talk about weaponized cardio, this man is the epitome of weaponized cardio. He is an absolute animal. When he fought Pereira, he ate some heavy kicks early in that round, but it doesn't matter. He gets hit with anything and everything and either just shakes his head or sticks his tongue out. It's crazy. And then he just keeps trying. It doesn't matter if he's gonna miss a takedown 8 times, he's gonna try 9. And eventually you're gonna fade. And eventually he's gonna get that takedown. And once he gets you taken down, there's no stopping it. Couple things I absolutely love about his grappling. First off, when he gets somebody to the ground, you don't ever really see this. His main focus is tying up a leg. He gets you to the ground, and instead of like these roided out Russian guerrillas from the Caucasus Mountains that just come in there, desperately get a takedown, get into full mount, and then just stick their head in your neck and just sit there and throw the most bullshit pitter patter shot to the liver, shot to the head, literally a shot that my grandmother could eat. Anthony Hernandez gets you on the ground and punishes you, and he ties up your leg immediately. So not only are guys not used to fighting that, but if he can't get your leg, he'll be trying to get your leg, you won't give it to him, he'll just start smashing you in the face. And then the second you stop to either defend those punches or elbows, that half a second, he's gonna grab your leg. He never gives you a chance to even breathe. It's unreal. Another thing about his grappling that I love, the commentary team was talking about in the Marc-Andre Barriault fight, when he has you on the ground, he doesn't care about keeping a position. He cares about beating you to the next one. So if you want to move, if you're not giving him the exact position he wants, he'll let you move, he'll let you get momentum, think you're getting back to your feet, just completely takes another position. He just lets you tire yourself out, lets you get momentum, and just kills it every single time. And you're going up against a guy in Dolidze who already got bad cardio to begin with. People are saying Dolidze's fought a tougher competition. No, he hasn't. His last win was a washed up Marvin Vettori, and he took so much damage in that fight. And I think Hernandez would smoke Marvin Vettori. I don't even think it would be a close fight. I really like Anthony Hernandez in the spot. It's one of these fights where I don't understand how people are picking the other side. I couldn't understand why people were picking Poirier. I think Anthony Hernandez dominates this fight. I think he shows that he's probably ready for a title, especially if DDP wins against Hamzat. I think they're going to do Anthony Hernandez. Very excited for this card. I think it's going to be an entertaining card. Whatever these cards are that people complain about, they're always the ones that are entertaining. But that's going to do it for this breakdown. If you guys are still watching, thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know. I am so excited to get these full card breakdowns out. The parlay lock of the week video is either going to come out Thursday or Friday, depending on when I can finish this video. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe, please. I appreciate it more than anything. Follow my other socials, my TikTok and my YouTube. They're both or my TikTok and my Instagram. They're both UF Charles Du Bronx, just all lowercase. And I will catch you guys in the next video.